Are we live? I think we're live. Okay, I'm going for it. I'm assuming we're live. Hello and welcome to day 9 of the Getting Your House in Order Without Stressing Out challenge with your host, me, Tara, Christian wife, mom, homeschool mom of 10 kids. Oh, look, and somebody's walking in the room when I asked them not to walk in the room. Mommy will be out in a couple minutes. Would you close the door, please? I'll be out in a couple minutes. Thank you. Okay, you can wait. Thank you. That's my 5-year-old. She's just playing at the dollhouse outside the door. So where was I? Yes, I'm your host, and we're doing a challenge this whole month of July. We've got 12 checkpoints 3 times a week. We've been checking in, and we are in the 3rd week. So next week is the big final week. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, all this month we've been checking in with each other. A bunch of you ladies have decided to join the challenge. And if you're joining this later, it's all saved in the guide section. That's great. So just follow along with the daily video post one. And there's also a written post that I do every afternoon at 1 o'clock. Make sure you catch it. And if you're catching this live, you're actually doing it this July, then make sure you comment in both the video and the post itself this afternoon. That'll keep you in the running for the big giveaway in the end. So we've been talking about a bunch of topics, and some of them have been super practical, especially like right at the gate. We talked about, how to identify what project you do in your home. Some of the women have chosen to do decluttering projects or a tidying an area project. I'm doing a photo project. Everyone's got like something different that they identified in their home that means the most to them, and that's just where they're going to start. So yeah, we've been touching base, and I've been giving very practical stuff right at the bat. The middle of this month, I've been talking more about some of the blocks that we can hit, whether they're mental blocks or things that are circumstantial. It's almost a bit of a downer now that I think about it, but it's also very real, right? Because we can start out super gung-ho with a Get Your House in Order project. Our emotions are running high, we're really enthusiastic, and then we hit stuff, like whether it's our own internal stuff, like procrastination habits we've talked about, or there's a crisis that erupts in your life and then you have to decide, what am I going to do? Today we're going to talk about, have you bit off more than you could chew? So I called it More Than You Can Chew. This may not apply to everybody at this present time in the context of this challenge, but it may happen to you at some point somewhere. And, and also maybe it's really like, Terry, you're talking to me. Like I said, we can start out, these kind of home organization projects super enthusiastic, and we're like, I'm going to do this. I've got Tara and the challenge, and we're going to get practical support and step-by-step encouragement. And that's great to start out with that emotional high. That gust of wind can really hit the sails and get you off to a great start. And then mid-month or a couple steps in, you might all of a sudden begin to hit, like I said, different roadblocks. Some of them outside of you, some of them even inside of you. One of them we're going to talk about today, especially at this point, 3 to 4 weeks into the whole project, whatever it is for you, might be a sense of, oh my goodness, I've bitten off way more than I could chew. And that's okay. If you have, or if you begin to feel this at a later point, it's okay. It's better that we just talk about it. It's the elephant in the room sometimes. And the only way to really deal with something is, step 1 is admitting, right? Because then you can start to work on it. So if you're feeling that right now, you're starting to feel a bit panicky because the end of the month is fast approaching and you're like, I am nowhere near done this project. What was I thinking? There can be like 2 responses that kick in, and it's kind of the fight or flight mechanism. If you've heard about that, when panic starts to rise and your adrenaline starts to kick in, on one hand, you can be like the fight, right? They're like, I'm going to just plow through and I don't care what it takes. I'm going to pull some midnight oil and I'm going to finish this thing by the end of July. So help me. I mean, that's an option, and maybe that'll work fine. I'm not like casting particular judgment on that. Just saying that's an option, and I kind of think of it in my mind as the fight mechanism kicking in. And sometimes maybe that's actually a practical way to do it, and it's not going to interfere with your health, your home, or cause you to be super cranky, irritable mom the next day, and that's an option. Another one, though, is the flight, which you could probably guess would be just quitting and saying, that's it, I bit off more than I could chew. What was I thinking? There I go again. All those internal accusations kick in. You're like, oh, look at you. You're such a failure. You can never finish what you started. So why don't you just go ahead and quit now? That might be kind of the just flight. You're like, that's it, I'm done. And I think you can probably imagine that can be discouraging, right? Especially if it sort of feeds into your own negative self-talk. Maybe there's patterns in your life. I think we all experience it. I know I do, where I'm just like, see, there's the proof that you suck. And, that just feels terrible. And, next time that you attempt to do another home project, for example, all those memories, all those bad feelings can get dug up. And then all of a sudden you're just like, well, I don't want to feel all those bad feelings of disappointment again. It can set you up in the long run for like basically self-sabotage in the future. Close the door, buddy. I'm just finishing this and I'll talk to you. Thanks. And there's my 7-year-old. Like, what's mommy doing with the door closed? Of course, as soon as you close the door or want to make a phone call or go to the bathroom, then all your children want you simultaneously, right? And I have 10 of them. But, I'm finally hitting a point in my life when more of them are 10 and up. Well, no, technically not. I've only got 4 of them 10 and up. But I at least have 4. There was a time when I had like 3 under 3 and 5 under 5 and 7 under 7. And yeah, just going to the bathroom was a challenge. I've been there, done that. That's why I'm doing this whole Joyful Confident Mom, because I have been there. I don't know everything, but I learned a lot the hard way. I was not prepared for motherhood, had a lot of fear issues, especially with a big family. So, this challenge is just one of many things that I have a heart to talk to. So let's keep going with it. Fight or flight. There's a third option, right? As opposed to just gritting your teeth and maybe setting yourself up for burnout, or quitting and setting yourself up for like self-sabotage habits in the future. Third option is to engage your mind. Hang on, I'm going to write it down. I wrote it down. It's like so nice here. Use your emotions to engage your mind. Use your emotions to engage your mind, and then you can engage your will. Because the first 2 ones are just kind of like burning on pure emotion, in my opinion. It's just like panic. But if you use those feelings of maybe panic or overwhelm, and you start to like identify. So step 1 in like how to do this, use your emotions to engage your mind, is the first thing to do would be feel your feelings. Like, it's okay. You're like, and name them. I find it helpful to be like, what am I feeling right now? Like, I'm feeling like nauseous. What is that? And I'm like, oh, it's guilt. Or, oh, it's dread. Oh yeah. Hello, dread. I recognize you. So just like step 1 would be to identify your feelings rather than pretending they don't exist, or pretending this is no big deal, or telling yourself, well, there you go again. You might as well quit, loser. You can just feel your feelings, step 1, and just recognize them, kind of like an unwelcome guest. You're like, oh, it's you. Step 2, though, right, is explore a little bit. Why are you here like an unwelcome guest? What's dread doing knocking at my door? What's guilt doing just busting in the house again? Why am I feeling that way? That can be really revealing. You're like, oh, because see, I tried to do this before and now here it is again. And I suck and I suck and I suck. We can like, whoa, oh my goodness, that actually runs a little bit deep. Maybe we can start to deal with that. And that's step number 3. Then once you felt your feelings, explore it a little bit. This can be like a 5 minutes personal thing. You don't have to make a big to-do about it. I do recommend in a quieter moment though. When the kids are just running around you yelling, that could be a little distracting. So yeah, ask yourself, well, what then am I going to do about it? I feel a feeling. I see why I feel that feeling. What will I do about it? What will I do about this? And that really what you're doing is you're buying yourself time. So you're not just burning on emotion. You're making a decision. So if you start to feel like you've bitten off more than you can chew with this project or one in the future, realize panic is a choice. Like, this isn't really a fight or flight situation where you're in imminent danger, like something's coming at you like a vehicle or I don't know, some kind of criminal. You have time. Yes, the end of the month is approaching and you set a date, and that's good, right? To give yourself goals and things to concretely work towards. However, if you're feeling overwhelmed and panic at this point, rather than overwhelming yourself and burning out or quitting and then setting yourself up for self-sabotage in the future, realize you have time. You can just pause right now, even after this video, and just give yourself a quiet moment of reflection and say, oh, why am I feeling all these awful negative feelings? Where did they come from? What then will I do about it? And that's how you use those emotions to engage your mind, right? Think about it. And then you can make a decision out of your will, which is very powerful, very self-empowering. You'll feel more in control. You're like, okay, maybe I need to give myself a 2-week extension realistically. I did bite off more than I can chew, and hey, that's okay. I'm still going to finish the project. You have time, so you can just stop the panic button and go out of that fight or flight. Here's the bottom line. You're in control of your choices. You make your own choices. And on one hand, you could beat yourself up about that and replay all those old tapes, or you could begin to write a new script that you talk to yourself. Like I've said before in other videos, friend, If you were counseling a dear, dear friend, the way you're feeling right now, if you're feeling all these feelings, what would you say to them? How would you speak to them? Do that for yourself. It's so powerful. It really is like a beautiful act of loving God as we love our, loving our neighbors as we love ourselves, right? So it assumes you already know how to love yourself. But sometimes we don't treat ourselves the way we would others, right? We can treat ourselves worse. So this, if you're feeling panicky, overwhelmed, you feel like you've bit off more than you can chew, that's okay. You can use this to actually mature and grow up and make different choices and feel better about yourself, and maybe even start to break some self-sabotage habits too. How awesome is that? So that's what I've got for you today. I'll have a live, a written post this afternoon just to help you take this a little bit further. Make sure you check that out and comment below. Also, I've been teasing all this week. I have my website that'll be launching the first week of August. I'm so excited to share it with you. I've got lots of free stuff, free guides. I've got my blog, lots of practical stuff, because my heart isn't just to fluff you up and sort of pump you up with rah, but really practical stuff that I could have used 10, 12 years ago when I was at the beginning of my mothering journey, feeling overwhelmed, and really could use a mom mentor who just a bit further ahead on the road was gracious and kind and wanted to encourage me and equip me with really practical stuff in my life as a mom of many, really in the thick of it, right? When they were all under 10. So I'm so excited to share that website with you. It's coming soon. Can't wait. So that's it for today. Remember to share this with other moms of many, and define many, right? It could be two, right? Some people have 2 kids, like, oh my gosh, how do you even get through Walmart? 2 kids, 3 kids, whatever it is. I mean, yeah, I've got 10 kids, but I didn't start out that way. Like I said, I had to start with 1, and that was kind of overwhelming. And then we had twins, so all of a sudden we had 3, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get this minivan full of kids? Well, actually, I know how that happened. People ask, and I know how that happened. All right, ladies, have a great weekend. It's so good meeting with you and connecting through this portal of Facebook, which I have a love-hate relationship with. But I love that we can connect together as women through, space and time. What an amazing time we live in, right? For all the craziness, there's also incredible opportunity, and there's real people on the other end of these computer screens, like me, like you, and I love that we get connect this way. So I look forward to your comments. Have a great weekend, and I'll